Welcome, everybody, to Learning to Die Less Revisited. This is the series where I did play Dionysius, this Wavemaster here, and we got a solid 10 episodes in. Um, Made it to level 12, if I recall, but there's a lot of things in those 12 levels in this game that you don't just cover, so we're back on a limited series to talk about them. And the first one today is something contained in this here magic shop. You could see the Bane Spells: Warrior's Bane, Knight's Bane, Hunter's Bane, Hermit's Bane, Beast's Bane, and Wizard's Bane, matching up to the blood consumables that you could pick up out of the item shop, where the bloods will boost your stats in those specific areas. For instance, Beast's Bane, Beast Blood boosts your magical defense. Beast Bane will lower a monster's magical defense, and the Bane spells in particular are very important. I would say probably once you get past level 30. It's not something you think about in the lower levels. And honestly, something I barely used when I played Infection, Mutation, Outbreak, and Quarantine, because I would always diversify elements and run with a balanced party. So monster resistances weren't such a huge deal. Here we're going to a field on the V's Place server. It's one I've been on a couple times, and I was just going to ride to the dungeon to show you what I'm talking about when a wandering monster appears. It's a brown worm, and you could see right there on the equipment, it is completely earth tolerant. Now I'm lucky in this sense. I've got a wood element tornado equipped. But if I was sitting there rolling with a pure earth wand, I'd be in serious trouble. And if this was in a dungeon, I would be in even more trouble, because there you've either got to defeat the monster, die to the monster, or if you're lucky enough that it's a larger room, find a corner you can escape battle from and sprite Ocarina out. So let's go ahead back to town here and take a look at these a little more in depth. In fact, I end up logging the whole way out through the magic of quick cuts. Gonna head back into the lobby. It's important when you're looking for these Bane spells to know which server you're looking for, which root town you're looking for. They alternate. I believe Mac, Anu, Carmina, Gadalika, and Netslum, filling in for Leah Fail, have the Warrior, Beast, etc., etc.'s that mess with the specific stats on the Banes. Here we're in Dunloriag, and Dunloriag and Fort Oof have the elemental ones, the ones that will lower earth resistance, for instance. That brown worm was completely earth tolerant. And you could see him here: Stone Bane, Water Bane, Fire Bane, Tree Bane, Light Bane, Night Bane. They're all going to lower the defense against a specific element. And what that will allow you to do, if you're running that earth staff and you run into that brown worm, if you're able to hit it with a Stone Bane, its resistance to the earth element is going to be completely nullified for a time, allowing you to hit it to your heart's content. So we're going to go ahead and set this as a shortcut. Luckily for me, I had 2 spots for Beast Bane because it's a Wavemaster. If it's got magical resistance, I'm in serious trouble. Back here on V's Place, and we are going to go right back to that field. Now, better equipped to handle those brown worms. Not that we're terribly worried about it, because we're lucky enough to have that wood element attack. But if we wouldn't, we can now use Yarthkins to our heart's content once we hit with a Stone Bane. Remember, they're not 100% guaranteed, and to prove that point emphatically is my buddy the King Worm there. If you look back a few episodes, you will see me attempting the Guinness World Record for most times failed on a Bane scroll against that thing. Here we're just kind of gating it around, and it attempted to paralyze us there, which is all the information we needed, that we don't need to be one-on-one with that King Worm. it's still a couple levels too high for us to hit with relative success. So rather than chancing the dungeon and running into it in a locked room again, we're just going to go ahead and clear the portals. Another little tip I could share with you if you're trying to level up your servers, you don't have to defeat every monster in the field to clear all of the field portals. You just need to open them. Here we get ourselves a big giant dragon. I believe this is Diagolon Anik, the darkness element guy. Dalagon. Okay, I knew I said that wrong. Dalagon Anik. He's a tough guy, he hits for a ton, and he paralyzes. That'll be a future episode. We're going through the prevalence of status ailments. Today we're focusing more on the Bane side of things, but it is important to remember that, and as you can see, I'm hitting it for a good amount of damage every time. It's just got a ton of hit points. Damn near 4,000. Make it through though, and a good chunk of experience for us. 13 experience for that kill. Move down to the next portal here. So we have Beast Banes, but at our current level, we know it's a low probability of success against the King Worm. As you can see, we fail on another one there. Take 256 damage for the attempt, and yeah, that's good enough. Pick up a pumpkin, as it is the best of all grunty food, and continue on our merry way. I probably haven't said that since the last Learning to Die Less. Here's that brown worm. Let's see if we can go ahead and hit it with a Bane spell. Catches us with that breath weapon nice and quick, so we decide to just throw some tornadoes at it. Hit a Bane on it. There, you see it was successful. We got our little aura coming up on it, and that means that Yarthgans that would previously be doing 0 damage is now hitting for 600. You can see the little earth element is crossed out with that red X there. And that's what you want to look for, just in case you miss the graphic. Now, the Knight's Banes and things like that will put up the little icon over the monster's head as though you just gave it a buff. You're giving it a debuff. Here with the Stone Bane and the Elemental Banes, you just have to look for that little aura up from the ground. And if you miss that, get close enough to see the monster's stats if you can safely, and you'll see that red X right over it. There are visual clues, you just gotta play cautiously and be very attentive. Here we're up against another Dalagon Anik. Still probably butchering it, but at least it's pronunciation here, and I haven't reversed the letters again. That paralyze is a pain. I remember sitting there thinking, no, 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 no! Just barely got out of that in time to pop a potion. I mean, that was split second. Back my happy self up. That way if it paralyzes me again, I could waste a couple seconds watching it walk towards me. Another important thing with Wavemasters, the distance is your friend. Get as far away as you can and still hit that spell. Every now and then you'll be lucky enough to be able to hit them with a spell while technically out of battle range. Those are the fun ones. They just sort of sit there. Eventually they walk into range, but you get a couple free attacks, and there's no better feeling than that. Pick up a golden helm. And yeah, we've got about a half dozen or so more portals. Let's go ahead and clear this field out. Another king worm, not even gonna bother. We know our limitations, we are gonna stick to them. No point in being a hero when we've got big giant dragons running around that we can defeat. Eventually I would like to get back to this field in a couple levels, just to show the king worms who's boss. So far they've made a pretty compelling argument for them being the boss. I won't lie there. Also going to go over some higher spells in this series. If you remember back to the old Learning to Die Less, and if you haven't seen them, I'm going to recommend them, probably from episode 4 or 5 on. The first few were really rough. It was before I was comfortable with my weird ass voice being on commentary. There's another king worm, so we're going to just run out of there. But I would recommend them, as we did cover a lot of ground and they were a blast to do. There you see Yarthkin's doing absolutely nothing without that stone bane in there. It's not our best attack thanks to the wood attack. We can actually shred this thing pretty easily, but that's more good luck for me having a weapon equipped with multiple elements and one of them happening to match up well. You can't rely on that every time, especially if you have a specialized element. If you're looking at a weapon like Fire Drake Bone or Hehehe, which are both fire wands, and yes, it's awesome that a wand is literally named Hehehe. You run into something with fire tolerance. If you don't have a second element of spell somewhere in your gear, there's nothing you could do. And even if it is there, there's no guarantee you set a shortcut to it. And navigating the menus in Fragment is perilous all on its own, because the game's not going to stop and wait for you. So having those Bane spells, those little consumables on hand, could very well save your life, especially when you play a Wavemaster and having something for magical tolerance. So that's going to clear out the field there. Pick up our final 13 experience. I thought about going, oh yeah, one more dungeon, one more portal there, right by the creepy crawling hands. It's a king's worm. We're going to run away from it. We got what we needed out of it. Let's go ahead, log out. So moral victory there. Going back into town. That's going to about wrap up this episode. Hopefully I was able to convey the importance of the Bane spells and everything, and hopefully you're looking to play some .hack Fragment today. If you are, head on the Discord server Fragment Resurgence or .hack Network, that Discord server as well. Shout out. See if anybody's around who may want to play with you. Group up and have yourself an adventure. This has been a Grumpy Old Guy Gaming, thanking you for watching, and we'll see you next time out.